This offseason, the Ravens did one of the craziest trades of all time.
Look in my eyes, tell me your tale. Do you see the road? I'm out to my soul. And tell me the size whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture.
This offseason picked up one of the most prolific and scary running backs in NFL history in Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has been in the NFL for 8 seasons. During this time, he got a bit of a slow start in his first 2 seasons with 490 yards and 744 yards. Then, he took off in 2018, breaking a 1,000-yard season for the first time, and has only missed that mark once since. Derrick Henry has also broken the 1,500-yard mark 3 times in a 2,000-yard season in 2020. Last season, he had 1,167 yards and averaged 4.7 yards. Currently, his 2020 campaign stands as the 5th highest rushing season of all time. He also currently is the active NFL rushing leader, beating Ezekiel Elliott by over 600 yards. So, as you can imagine, this pickup for the Ravens would be a team-changing pickup for any team and is destined to set their offense on fire. Now, if y'all want something fire, go check out my boys over at Ape Industries. Use code FOOTBALLTIMES22 for 5% off the entire store. Then, on top of this, the Ravens had the 6th most effective offense last season, averaging 370 yards a game. They also ranked 4th in points per game with over 28. So to say this offense was good last season is to say the least. Last season, the Ravens had a collection of running backs. So let's start with the ones they lost. Gus Edwards had been with Baltimore for 5 seasons and racked up 810 yards last season. Then, J.K. Dobbins, who had been with the team for 3 seasons and had his best season in 2020 where he got 805 yards. Then, on top of this, they had Dalvin Cook, who spent most of the time last season with the Jets and saw limited touches, and with Minnesota where he broke 1,000 yards in 4 of his 6 seasons, who hasn't signed anywhere yet. Then, Melvin Gordon, who's been in the league for the last 9 seasons and only broke 1,000 yards once, but has had some solid season and is yet to sign anywhere for next season. All of which are pretty good running backs, and it's crazy they were all in Baltimore at the exact same time. Then, of course, this offseason, they lost Odell Beckham to Miami, who of course is a legendary receiver, but only put up 565 yards last season. On the defensive side of the ball, they lost Geno Stone and Ronald Darby. Then, the players they re-signed is Nelson Aguilar and several defensive players. So it is safe to say that overall, they didn't lose a crazy amount of players this offseason, but lost some receiver talent and some depth at running back. This year in the draft, the Ravens picked up some more depth at the corner position with Nate Wiggins. Then, they replaced some of the depth at wide receiver with Devontae Walker. Then, finally some depth at running back with Rasheen Ali. Then, we come to the things that concern me with Baltimore, and one is the lack of experienced depth at running back. Most of the players behind Derrick Henry will have limited touches and were mostly new players. Then, the big red flag for this team comes at the wide receiver position. I would say their top wide receiver coming into this season is Zay Flowers, who picked up 858 yards last season in his rookie season. Other than that, they have Rashad Bateman, whose best season was in 2021 where he got 515 yards. So I would say as far as the receiver position goes, this team is pretty light. I would say if I was the Ravens, I would try to pick up Cam Akers or bring back Dalvin Cook for running back. For receiver depth, get a Hunter Renfrow or Martavis Bryant. I really do think that the Ravens are set up to have a great season if they get some extra depth at wide receiver and some backups for the running back. Overall, I would say that the Ravens had one of the better draft classes this season, signing 2 corners, a tackle, an outside linebacker, and a receiver. On top of this, they also signed a center, and they did sign a safety, but it was in the 7th round. So overall, I would say if they could utilize these new players and get some more depth in some of their positions, the Ravens are set to set the league on fire. I'd say another place that the Ravens excel is in the coaching staff. With John Harbaugh leading this team, I would say that this is definitely set to be a good team regardless. And then on top of that, they have Todd Monken, who has done a good job at leading this offense so far. Just look at what Lamar has been able to do with this offense. I would definitely say giving Zachary Orr some new weapons to work with is definitely not a bad thing, and could always be of benefit. I would say one thing you can look at and tell definitely with this team is all the coaches are more experienced coaches, the youngest of which is Zachary Orr, the defensive coordinator, only having 8 years of experience. But then you look at Todd Monken, who has 10 years. Then you can look all the way up to John Harbaugh, who's in his 16th season with the Ravens, and has led this team to a Super Bowl. Then, let's talk about the position I didn't get into, the quarterback position. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is an experienced quarterback in the league now, and has had some really good seasons. And then in the draft, they pick up Devin Leary. Then, on top of this, they have Malik Cunningham, Josh Johnson, and Emory Jones, all who are pretty young, and have not had any NFL experience. So I would say that's one of the red flags for this offense. Is behind Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, who's your next man up? Because I'm only seeing younger guys in these positions, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because these guys could use time to develop. But how will they do when it comes to a situation where the starter goes down? But outside of this, I think the Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry combo is going to be insane. I feel like the offensive coordinator is going to have a field day drawing up game plans for these two. And for defenses, this is definitely going to be a terror. I would say that the one thing that would electrify this offense is picking up one more good set of hands at receiver, because then you have to cover all three options. You have to run, the option, and the pass to cover, and I think that would just be impossible for any defense to cover on this team. But that's all, guys. See you in the next one.